Welcome back to my channel today. So today on my channel, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about a condition I have called hyperlaptation. I'm gonna try to put it here. We'll see if it works out in editing. But hyperlaptation is basically just having an overproduction of milk. And why I want to talk about it is because I feel like today's society, you know, with the formula shortage and everything else going on, everyone wants what I have. And I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of having this condition and why it is not a good idea to try to induce it, or at least the risks. So if you do induce it and you are successful, you're fully aware of what could happen. So while I do that, we're going to bag the milk from the past probably day and a half. It hasn't been a full 48 hours. Usually I bag every 48 hours, if not every 24 hours. So the first thing I do is I start off with my little baggies here and I label them. So I grab a Sharpie and I label the bags of milk for the current day it is. So even though I might have pumped it a day ago, I'll label it the 23rd because that's what I'm bagging. So we want to know the day it was bagged, even if it was pumped one day prior. Plus, there's no way to really differentiate which bottle was pumped on what day because I don't label the actual bottles. So some might have been pumped last night, some might have been pumped today, I'm not sure. Already, what I can tell you from this bucket of milk is that I'm gonna need quite a few bags. So I'm gonna reach in, grab a handful. Never once have I grabbed too many. So what I mean by that is I'm gonna pre-label them so that when I go to bag the milk, it's just ready to go. There's no smudges from it being wet. Every bag I do is 5 ounces. It's a good quantity. I donate some of my milk and it goes to primarily people at my birth center. I've donated 700 something ounces so far. And my baby Ellie is 8 weeks old. And I still have a fairly good supply, which I'll give you a supply tour. The reason I have such a crazy supply is number 1, genetics. Number 2, unfortunately, all of my children have been NICU babies. And why that has any weight on the situation is that the NICU has you do crazy pumping schedules, like insane. They have you pump every 3 hours, but then once the baby starts nursing, they have you come in, nurse the baby, then by the time you get back to the room, it's time to pump. And it's just this vicious cycle, which is like a constant stimulation of the breasts. So with that comes an overproduction. So I do pump from birth, no matter what. I've always unfortunately ended up in the hospital. I did have a home birth, my last birth, but even still I had to go to the hospital for my baby because she had some meconium that she aspirated. So with her being in NICU and having a crazy pumping schedule and having a crazy latching schedule, she was on CPAP, which is a force of oxygen, like it's a mask that forces oxygen down your throat to open your lungs and expand your lungs to hit your full lung capacity. So she wasn't able to breastfeed. She had to take an OJ tube, which was a tube in the mouth. I believe it's called an OJ. But the reason that I mention this is because her demands changed. The demands to my body changed when she started being able to nurse from the breast, because I was pumping to bring my milk in, nursing her, and just going on this endless cycle. By the time I'd get back to my room at the hospital, I would have to pump again. Then by the time I was done pumping, I would get maybe like a 30-minute rest and then have to turn around, go back to the NICU, breastfeed her, and so on and so forth. And then it created this giant oversupply, which has been massively hard to wean down. I've met with lactation, I had a doula, I had a midwife, I followed everyone's advice, but every time I've tried to wean down the amount, even if it's just a little bit of time at a time, or cut a pumping session, I end up with mastitis. So that's no fun. It feels like you have the flu mixed with someone punched you in the boob. Its symptoms are fever, pain, streakiness on one side of your breast or both breasts, and it's just a horrible time. It's no fun. You get a fever, it makes you feel like you have the flu, just yucky overall. And so I've just decided to stop trying to fight and wean down my oversupply and just be grateful and allow it to help other people and store a large stash of milk, because we plan to have another baby within a year. So if I have all this breast milk in storage, I can get it made into a powdered form, which is just dehydrated breast milk, and then you use it like formula, which means if I have another baby that goes to NICU, which I am praying so hard that I do not, which if I have another baby that goes to NICU, I can use my own milk instead of donor milk this time, which has been my dream from the get-go. However, ideally, I would like to just be able to use my milk from the start, or my colostrum, and not have to pump it all next baby. I do plan to tandem feed Ellie and the new baby. I want Ellie to be breastfed till she's at least 2. So that's another goal that I have. Hopefully it works out that way. We will see though. But the reason that having an overproduction is not super fun is because I do have a responsibility to be by a pump at least every 3 hours. So for example, say you're a mom and you want to go to the zoo. By the time you pack your kids up, it's been an hour and a half. By the time you get in the car and you arrive to the place, it's probably been about 2 hours. So you have an hour at the place that you're at before you start feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, they do have pumps that you can use and walk around, but I find they don't pull as much milk. They leave milk up in the back parts of the breast, and that's where I tend to get the mastitis, is where it can't reach or pull the milk from. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Yeah, I have all this milk, yeah, it's great, but I'm kind of a prisoner to this process until it's over, which it's a season, and seasons change, and it won't be my life forever. And I did so very much miss breastfeeding after the twins, and after I stopped breastfeeding them, I only breastfed them till they were about 7 months breastfed exclusive, and then 9 months with mixed formula and breast milk. And when I stopped, I was so sad. I really want to breastfeed long term. I think there's so many benefits. I love breastfeeding. It's very healthy for my body. It reduces the risk of cancer. So that's where this all comes in handy. Another downside to having such a large oversupply though, pumping bottles and like so far this is what I got, but like all this I'll have to wash. So there's at least 15, 20 bottles here. I'm gonna have to wash all that, and that's a pain in the ass. Like I said, another drawback is just having to wash bottles incessantly. It's just a pain in the butt to constantly have to wash pumping supplies, bottle supplies, replace pumping bags. I go through a substantial amount of pumping bags every single time I bag milk. It's an expense, but the cool thing is I've met a lot of people in the community that need breast milk, and I am helping other moms. I am donating it completely, although I did barter breast milk for sourdough starter. I would have given it to her anyways, even if she was like, no, I'm not gonna give you any of my sourdough starter. But I sure did appreciate her trading that with me for breast milk. So that was pretty cool that I got sourdough starter out of it, because I just don't have the patience to make sourdough starter, which is what you use to make sourdough bread, or tortillas, or bagels, or whatever you want to make. That is another cool factor of just having all this breast milk, is that I can help other people and or use it to get some things that I may want. And they do replace my pumping bags. People that I donate to, they bring me more pumping bags, so that's helpful, super helpful. Drawback is we have a deep freeze. So outside we have this massive freezer, and in the deep freeze we have gotten butcher meat, so it's like half butcher meat and half breast milk. And I can already tell I didn't get enough bags, because look, this is what I have left to bag, and this is the bags that I have left, so I'm gonna have to label more bags. What I was saying is that our freezer is being consumed by breast milk. Thankfully I was able to donate some, because otherwise I wouldn't have a place for it. I'd have to get really creative on how to store it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show you all my freezer today. If anyone has suggestions on how to more productively store the breast milk, I'm totally open to it, because my situation or my my system isn't working the best. I'm not as organized as I'd like to be. And then another cool thing about breast milk is the different colors. So this one's clearly more yellowy than this one. This one's a whiter color, and this one's more yellowy. Their kids were sick, and so my breast milk is making colostrum or antibodies for the kids to get better. Things I do with my breast milk, I'll use it to treat pink eye, I'll use it to treat eczema. My mom will take it and actually put it on her skin, because she has skin problems, and it helps. Anyone sick in the family, they get breast milk. automatically. It's got good probiotics. Even if you have a stomach virus, it'll help you. So we use it for many medicinal purposes here. I would like to go get some made into lotions or creams. The baby will get a breast milk bath. If the kids ever got chicken pox, I'd totally use it for that too. FYI, I know I'm shaking it and that used to be a no-no, but actually they said unless you are putting it in like a paint can shaker, like at Home Depot, it doesn't destroy the nutrient. Just getting that fat mixed back in with the breast milk, and because I pump a lot and a lot of foremilk is produced, I like to mix different pump sessions so that there's an equal amount of foremilk and hindmilk. Another thing is that while you're breastfeeding, I try to watch what I eat. So I do tend to have a different diet while I'm breastfeeding to be healthier for the baby and to make sure that I'm producing as much nutrient-dense milk as I can. However, it's not required at all for you to eat like the best diet. So if you're like, oh, I eat McDonald's, should I stop breastfeeding my baby? Like, no, keep breastfeeding your baby, keep doing USIS. Like, this is just what I do. And this is a learning process and a learning curve that has taken me 4 babies. 4. After trial and error, this is what works for our family. And so I am just stoked to be able to have a little bit of a routine now that I've done this for so many years. I've breastfed Charlie for 14 months and had an oversupply, but not this large. I barely had any milk pumped for her. But I did have letdown problems. That's another drawback. I have letdown problems with the babies. They have a really hard time managing my letdown, which is so strong that it'll gag them, choke them up, you know, they'll aspirate on it a little bit. So you have to get creative with positions, or you just can't feed baby till you pump, which is more stimulation, which causes more milk production, and the vicious cycle goes on. So that's another drawback of being such a large overproducer. Another thing is if my freezer ever went out, thousands of ounces would be compromised, and that's horribly sad. Just because I have such a large stock, I have a lot to lose. And then clogged ducts and mastitis, like I said, are always a thing around here. So I'm just constantly making sure that I pump, and sometimes even the pump won't do it. I have to hand express after I pump, and that's a pain in the ass. It takes extra time. It takes time at night, and my baby's sleeping through the night, but I still have to get up and pump, because if I don't, I will be in severe pain the next day. So those are just some of the drawbacks, and I know it's like good problems to have, but like I said, it's 2 sides of the same coin. It takes up a lot of time. It takes a lot of time away from my other kids. It takes a lot of time in general, and limits the time I can be out, or I have to get really creative about how I am out, or I have to bring help so that the older kids can keep having fun while I'm pumping or doing breastfeeding chores, or I have to figure out, like right now it's summer, so if I pump anywhere, I have to make sure I have adequate cooling, or the breast milk obviously won't stay good. That's another issue with this situation. What I love about breastfeeding is it's just so easy, as far as you don't have to make a bottle, because my child won't take a bottle. None of them really ever did, except for the twins. And that's because I literally had to get them on a bottle. I was just so anxious, I couldn't do it anymore. The pros, I sideline nurse the baby every night. We co-sleep, and it's just very easy to feed her. There's no special prep that goes into feeding her. I will literally whip a boob out anywhere, anytime. It's taken me, well, the twins I got pretty comfortable nursing in public, but it's taken me a while to get to a point where that was the case. I'm gonna finish bagging this milk, and then we'll go do a freezer tour. Okay, so this is what we ended up with. This looks like a rather light day, so we'll count and see how many ounces. On a good day, like a super good day that I get tons of milk, I get like 150 ounces every 48 hours. On like a medium day, I'll get like 45 ounces per day, so like 90 in 2 days. So we'll see. This is about a day and a half for reference. Also, the breast milk bags I most prefer are these. They don't really leak, and they're super good, and they just hold a lot of milk. I think they hold up to 6 ounces, but you could probably squeeze 8. Hate the Medela. I've had leaking with Medela, and I haven't really tried other bag brands this postpartum period, but I can tell you I love the Lanansol, I think is how you pronounce it, Lanansol. Anywho, these bags, and I'm not sponsored, but I love these bags. And yeah, so let's count the ounces. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, and then I have a 3, so 88 ounces. 88 ounces. I think, ow, that's the lowest I've ever gotten in 2 days. No, it's not, but still. Anyway, let's go out to the freezer. So this is the beloved milk keeper. It keeps all the baby breast milk in here. This is what we got going on so far. I just donated 400 ounces. So this is the sides. And then this is what was recently frozen. We have a second shelf and a third shelf for just laying flat and freezing. I like to transfer these bad boys into the side if we have room, just so we can lay some more flat. It doesn't look like we have a ton of room, and that is actually bowing out. So we're not gonna do that. We'll just put that over there to the side. I need more like storage bin type things for breast milk. These are actually fridge organizers I repurposed into breast milk storage. So we're gonna put all of our new bags flat here. So here we go. We're just gonna make sure it's super flat. That's tape, I thought that was milk. So that we can, what's it called? Get our best storage capacity out of these suckers. I need to go to like IKEA and get storage stuff. It's a nice day out today, it's not even that hot. So that's a wrap. You can see the different color tones, like this one's more yellow than this one, and these are way more yellow than these, and that one right next to that one, you can tell how white and how yellow, so that's pretty cool. And then you can see some real colostrum from right after the baby was born, just bright yellow, orange basically, orange yellow. So those are my medicinal breast milk bags. If something happens with kids, they get sick, this is what they get. And I definitely save it for the baby too if she gets sick. So those are like my first milk. But anyways, this is my breast milk tour. So I hope you enjoyed my breast milk tour. I had a lot of fun sharing that with you guys. I have so many more videos coming up, and if you have any specific questions about breastfeeding, drop them down below. Make sure you like and subscribe, because mommy content, just as much as intimacy content, is going to be coming out all over the place. And I will talk to you guys soon.